Alright, what's up, people? This is going to be an entirely different type of video. For some of you, it's going to be awesome. For others, you're going to be turned off. You'll notice that there really is no video feed on this quote-unquote video, right? What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be recording me reading chapter 1 of this book right here. That's it. That's what I'm going to be doing. So it's audio format only. There's no walking around. There's none of that. I want to show you what a real so-called occult text is. And by the way, this is extremely hard to get. So let's go. Chapter 1, the place of the cross. The sephiroth were described by the ancient Kabbalists as divine emanations of the Absolute. The word sephiroth in the plural form of the Hebrew word sephirah, meaning number or emanation. The 10 sephiroth represent the emergence from the Ein, the nothingness which is beyond unity, via the scale of the numbers 1 to 9, of the divine vibration, and its return again to the void via Malkuth, where unity 1 becomes naught 0 again. During the course of the development of occult science, the numbers 1 to 10 came to signify centers or zones of cosmic power, and in order to bring their nature within range of human comprehension, they were allotted various planetary representatives. Pluto represents the outermost power zone, the pylon set at the utmost rim of the planetary system, beyond which stretch the vasts of outer space. When applied to the microcosm, the world of human consciousness, Pluto represents the pylon at the gates of the sanctuary of inner space. Kether, the crown of the system in the outer and in the inner, is thus equivalent to the height and depth of physical and psychological space. It is essential to grasp this fact in order to understand why Malkuth, the 10th and final Sephirah, is equivalent to that which, for want of a better term, may be indicated by the term antimatter. I say indicated because neither Kether nor Malkuth can be described in terms of mundane logic. The Kabbalists alluded to Kether by such titles as the Ancient of Days, the Whitehead, the Supreme Point. Similarly, in the esoteric teachings of Tantricism, should be Tantrism by the way, Buddhism and Hindu alike, Nirvana and Samsara are considered to be identical. It's non-dualism. Yeah, I'm giving commentary, fuck me. Yet the concept of Samsara is not, strictly speaking, confined to Malkuth. For all the other Sephiroth, up to and including Kether, form part of it. In other words, they are all concepts and therefore objectifications of subjectivity. As objects, they are illusory. For Ein, subjectivity alone is, and the nature of its being is not. But, as an approximate analogy, it is useful because it brings Oriental doctrine into alignment with the Western occult tradition. There are innumerable treatises on the Kabbalistic tree of life, and it is presumed that the reader is acquainted with some of them. It may not be intended here to go over the ground already covered many times before, but to analyze the Kabbalistic scheme as a map of cosmic power zones interacting and impinging upon man at every point of his being. For there is no single element in man that does not vibrate in accord with the rhythm of the numbers 1 to 9 and their modifications. Parenthetical, see diagram of tree of life. It is evident that no human being, however advanced he may be towards the attainment of cosmic consciousness, can transcend Kether and explore the trans-Plutonic voids, either in the outer spaces of the physical universe or in the inner spaces of his own inscrutable individuality. To do so would imply that he had quitted altogether and forever the realm of human consciousness, perhaps to become one with God, for whatever that term may mean. The state implies that we have no possible meaning within the framework of dualistic experience, and is therefore without the scope of the present inquiry. As if to compensate for this forbidden journey, however, the tree provides a single loophole through which the human will may project itself, and it is this hole in space that forms the outer pylon hidden in the abyss of consciousness, the unconscious, which separates the supernal sephirotic triad, Kether, Chokmah, Bina, from the remainder of the tree. To go astray in this desert of Set is to become what is known as a black brother. His fate is perhaps unique. The name given by Kabbalists to this gate of the gulf is Dot, and in the cult tradition it is the place at which the eight-headed dragon of the deep disappeared behind the tree when it scaled it in an unsuccessful attempt to strike at the very heart of the Godhead, i.e. Kether. The word Dot instantly suggests the name of that other gateway which opens upon the void of personal extinction, i.e. death. These terms, Dot and death, do indeed have a mystical affinity, and it is no refutation of this fact that the words are in a different language. For the salient elements of both words, D, and T, are Kabbalistically equivalent to the number 474. One of the meanings of Dot is knowledge. It is called a sephiroth that is not a sephiroth. In one aspect, it is the child of Chokmah and Bina. In another, it is the eighth head of the stooping dragon, raised up when the tree of life was shattered, and Macrocosmos set a flaming sword against Microcosmos. By permutation, Doth equates with Oth, another Hebrew word meaning ram, or a he-goat, is also the number of the Greek word duo, meaning two. The double is the eidolon, doll, or shadow, glyphed by the ancient Egyptians by the Tot, which is equivalent to Dot. Dot is also the home of Khoronzon, the guardian of the gate of the abyss. Gathering together these various meanings, we see that the knowledge of Dot, or death, is of the nature of the secret of duality represented by the shadow or magical double, whereby man overcomes death and enters in at the gate of Dot to explore the abode of Khoronzon, the desert of Set. Dot, as the child of Chokmah and Bina, is attributed to Uranus, which indicates a highly explosive nature of this knowledge. Neptune, as Chokmah, is a form of Hadid, and Saturn, as Bina, is a form of Nuit. This knowledge, therefore, is the knowledge of life, which is also the knowledge of death, and as such, it suggests the sexual nature of its formula. In the Book of the Law, Hadid declares, quote, "I am the flame that burns in every heart of man, and in the core of every star. I am life and the giver of life, yet therefore is the knowledge of me is the knowledge of death." End quote. If for death we read Doth, the verse assumes a profunder meaning, for it is then seen to be a secret key of Hadid's function. Hadid is Shaitan, or Set, lord of the desert and of the great gate of the gulf, whose guardian is Khoronzon. If the word or name Khoronzon is in all probability a corruption of Kozar, whose symbol, the trident, equates him with Neptune / Nodens, the god of the deep. Thus Hadid, Neptune, and Nuit, Saturn, the dual principles of life, combine to form the averse or Khoronzonic principle of Dot and death, for this knowledge, Dot, is of the averse, reverse, or backside of the tree. Dot was described by the Kabbalists as the false Sephirah because it had no place in the scheme of numbers from 1 to 10, no place that is in the dimension represented by the front or obverse of the tree. In consequence, it was considered to be the 11th sephiroth. 11 is the number of magic, of energy tending to change, which is the precise formula of the operation of death, and the reason for its association with the death as the supreme type of change. In the tantric scheme of chakras, or microcosmic power zones, Thoth is attributed to the zone of the word, the Visuddha, or throat center. This center represents speech, but the word in its occult sense of the true voice, Makeru, may be uttered only by a magus, whose natural provenance is in the second sephiroth, Chokmah, assigned to Hadit. The 2 and the 11 thus meet in Thoth, the sphere of knowledge, for knowledge is possible only when the duality, duo, 2, Roman numerals, prevails. These two, subject and object, unite, and their union causes change, which is the formula of magic. Union occurs in consciousness, where the act is reflected as in a mirror, and the act opens the gate through which the will, Hadit, is projected. Its image appears in the mirror world, at the back of the tree, and in reverse. For in that dimension, time flows backwards, and man reverts to ape. The cynocephalus was chosen, therefore, as a magical symbol of the word by the ancient Egyptians, who attributed it to the moon god Thoth. The name of this god is equivalent to Thoth, and it's significant that the moon is attributed to the Kala that rays from Kether through the abyss to the solar or heart center of the cosmos. The reflection of the sun, human consciousness, in the waters of the abyss is thus symbolized by Thoth and his cynocephalus as the man and his dog reflected in the moon. The cynocephalus, or dog-headed ape, utters the word of the magus, Hadit, Chokmah, in reverse. Frater Ahad had an inkling of these mysteries, and it led him to enunciate his formula of reversion. At about the same period, the artist Austin Osman Spare, working along similar lines, realized that in order to become God, man must regress to the primal or original state of consciousness. This is the ultimate rationale behind the attempts by occultists of all ages to leap backwards and inward to the interior depths of the tree, thereby reverting to the pre-evil state of consciousness before Kether transmitted the current of manifestation from the eye of the void, Ein. Many magicians go astray on that backward journey. Their consciousness assumes forms of larval life and antedated the human. Then the ape of Thoth mocks them as they struggle to extricate themselves from swiftly accelerating reversion of consciousness that finally hurls them into oblivion. Such is the fate of particular adepts who, nurturing their animal propensities while in the abyss, assume the form of beasts without first relinquishing the tendencies of the ego to use for personal ends the powers which these creatures symbolize. Wow, it's a round sentence. We may thus posit anti-worlds based on the application of each sephira to its opposite, thereby obtaining a glimpse not only of the back of the tree, but of the tree's total reversal in respect of its obverse, which constitutes the world of appearances. This is Nirvana Samsara, that's my note. We may, in this way, formulate not only an anti-world or zone of antimatter, but also a zone of anti-spirit, represented by Kether inverted behind Malkuth. But let us not fall into Ahad's error of regarding these speculations as actual facts of spiritual consciousness. Rather, let us use the idea of them as a springboard, which may launch us into inner spaces of consciousness that comport, each in their turn, the hell or whole of each power zone. End of chapter. So, and I know that was probably long and shit. It was long, 14